Walking connects us to the glorious world around us, which we so often lose touch with in our busy everyday lives. It's good for our health and lifts the spirits like nothing else.
That is the most incredible view I've ever seen.
More and more people are feeling the benefits of this simplest form of relaxation.
Walking is about getting fit in body, mind and soul.
Being in nature gives me such a sense of the sacred.
And in this series, we're going to be joining them.
I'm Marine Baig.
And I'm JB Gill.
Come join us as we celebrate the joy, wisdom and beauty to be found not only in Britain's incredible religious spaces.
There's something really special when you enter a place like this.
But in its people as well.
You're really casting everything else away, all the problems of the day.
It's so important for our well-being.
If you're mindful and spend time in the present moment, then you'll have a much richer life.
We'll be discovering Britain's hidden cultural and historical treasures.
Imagine what this would have been like in its former glory. Unreal.
And unearthing an array of special places that can bring peace and spiritual fulfilment.
Dartmoor is my temple. Dartmoor is my cathedral.
No matter where you live, there's some trail or route you can walk. So put on your walking boots, put your best foot forward,
as we embark on some walks of life.
Today, I'm in the gorgeous county of Kent, home and inspiration to one of the world's greatest authors, Charles Dickens. A passionate walker, he set some of his most famous works along the route I'm about to explore.
I'm so excited about going on this walk. I've always been a Dickens fan, and when I was an English teacher, I used to love teaching his novels like Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol. It'll be so interesting to see whether the places Dickens describes in his books actually match up to what I see today.
In his lifetime, Dickens was described as a great Christian writer. But though I've spent years reading his novels, I realise I don't know that much about the man and his beliefs. So along the way, I'm going to be discovering how faith shaped his work and life.
There's a little known book which he actually wrote only for his children, never to be published, called The Life of Our Lord.
My journey will take me through the unspoiled northwest corner of the county. Starting near the Who Marshes, I'll uncover a hidden treasure in a church long since abandoned by its congregation.
Look at all of these cockles. It looks incredible, doesn't it?
It's quite special.
I'll be one of the lucky few to be allowed inside Dickens' private study.
You can almost imagine a man being here and writing those great works.
And uncover rumours of a lifestyle he wanted to keep hidden from view.
He certainly always used to choose this room to stay on, whether it was for entertaining purposes. You don't know what he got up to while he was here.
My journey will end with a glorious walk over the breathtaking Kent Downs to Rochester Cathedral, where I'll learn how Dickens' dying wish to be buried in his beloved home county was blocked by royal request.
This is the actual spot where they had started to dig Dickens' grave.
I'm starting my 15-mile journey at the edge of the RSPB's Northwood Hill Nature Reserve. The woods here are carpeted in bluebells in spring and the hedgerows covered in berries by summer. Charles Dickens spent much of his early years living here and, as a boy, often took walks with his father along the ridge that overlooks the Thames marshes.
How nice is this? Just a few seconds ago, we were in this tunnel surrounded by all of these trees and not quite knowing where we were going, and suddenly you're in this open space. It's all opened up. There's a real contrast between the two landscapes that are right next to each other. It's really beautiful here. Despite the fact that far in the distance you can see heavy industry, it doesn't feel like you are anywhere near a city.
Just 30 miles from London, these marshes are considered some of the most important wetlands in Northern Europe. And I've been told the dramatic beauty of this view was the inspiration for one of my favourite Dickens novels.
This setting inspired the opening scene of Great Expectations, and Dickens wasn't very complimentary about it. He described it as a dark, flat wilderness, intersected with dikes and mounds and gates, with scattered cattle feeding on it. And I remember reading Great Expectations about 15 years ago and having this clear mental image of this really threatening and wild place that I would never want to be in alone. And now that I'm here, what I'm seeing doesn't quite match up to that image that I had.
When Dickens walked here, though, thick smoke and fumes from the ships and industry at the nearby docks would have blurred the scenery. Today, the landscape has been reclaimed by nature, and birdwatchers come here to see egrets, herons, and spoonbills.
The RSPB say that around 300,000 migrant birds stop off here on their journey from the Arctic to Africa. That's around 7,000 miles of flying.
Like the birds that now migrate here, I'm told Dickens could cover some distance himself. He's said to have walked up to 12 miles each day, marching along at 4 miles an hour. That's a bit faster than I can manage. Born in Portsmouth in 1812, his father's career as a naval clerk took the family to London when he was 3, and then on to Kent 1 year later. They settled in the town of Chatham a little over 8 miles from here, and many of his childhood experiences would influence the 15 novels, 5 novellas, and many short stories he would go on to write. North Kent's landscape is sometimes referred to as bocage, a patchwork of mixed woodland, pasture, fields, and winding country lanes enclosed by tall, thick hedgerows.
When you think of Kent, you think of orchards, and I've been walking for less than a mile and I've already come across this massive pear orchard.
I'm currently following the Saxon Shore Way, a 163-mile footpath running from Hastings to Gravesend. And it's not long before I reach the outskirts of a village called Cooling.
There's a church in Cooling where my favourite scene from Great Expectations is set, so this is going to give me the opportunity to really geek out.
Cooling is home to just over 200 people and has a single main road running in and out. Dickens was raised an Anglican, and though the church here wasn't the closest to his house, it was his favourite, and he'd think nothing of walking more than 5 miles every Sunday to worship here. But before I can visit the church, I've been told I need to make a quick detour.
I'm in Cooling, and apparently the landlord of this pub has the keys to the church up the road. Hiya, I'm Maureen. It's lovely to meet you.
Hello, Maureen. Nice to see you.
I believe you have keys to a church.
Yes, St James's Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you can take me there and show me.
Certainly, yeah.
In Dickens' day, this was a thriving parish, but as the population of Cooling dwindled in the 20th century, so too did the congregation. The church fell into disrepair. But in 1976, thanks to its connections to the great man, it was rescued by the Church Conservation Trust and local group, the Friends of St James. Kevin is its chairman.
The church must be an important place for the community.
It's important insofar as it's part of the fabric of Cooling itself. It's a very historical landmark, and it lends itself to the whole aspect of what Cooling is about, with the small community of people that live here and the pub the church. It's all part of its heritage.
Though St James isn't used for weekly worship anymore, there are occasional baptisms and weddings, and Kevin's group ensures the building is kept very much alive.
Our friends group put on a strawberry tea every summer. We do productions of plays with an amateur dramatic society, and I'm just getting involved with some groups to put some live music in there as well.
Oh wow!
Here we are, St James's Church, Cooling.
This is lovely. Beautiful.
St James was built in the 13th century, funded by the local lords of the manor, the Dickens. It was last restored during the Victorian era, meaning I'm going to see the church exactly as Charles Dickens would have.
It's a pretty little church, but it has a big key.
Is that really the key?
That's the key for the door.
Oh my goodness, it's like something out of Harry Potter.
Would you like to try it?
Yes, I would love to. I can imagine you feel really special when you like open and close with this.
Well, yes, but don't lose it.
I won't lose it, I promise.
The Dickens spent a lot of money on the interior. Many of the original features, like its 500-year-old timber door, are still intact.
Okay, are you ready, Kevin?
Yes, indeed.
It's the Chamber of Secrets.
There we go. Come on in.
Oh, how lovely.
This is the leaded light windows.
Oh, right.
Very detailed.
So considering, I mean, we're talking, what, 600-700 years ago,
Yeah.
the community would have been even smaller.
A lot smaller
So
than it is
for a
now.
community so small, to create something so detailed,
Exactly.
they put a lot of money into
A lot of money,
this.
a lot of effort. Very detailed.
From what I've read, Charles Dickens disliked grand religious buildings and felt much more at home in small village churches like this one, with all their character and memorials to times gone by. The baptismal font here is the original and dates back to the 13th century, as do the benches behind.
These medieval pews.
Yes, they're the original pews that people would have sat and worshipped at. The ones in front of us now obviously are a lot more modern, but
Yes.
These are the original pews which we keep for historical purposes.
Technically, I'm sitting where Dickens may have sat and got inspiration for some of his books.
Yeah. Putting together his notes.
Wow, that's incredible. I never thought I'd be sitting in the same place as Dickens.
And Kevin has another unique feature of the church he's keen to show me. St James' vestry, where the priest's vestments would have been kept, is covered from floor to ceiling in thousands of cockle shells. There isn't another like it anywhere in the world.
What's the significance of these cockles?
The cockles are the emblem of St James, who's the patron saint of this church. These would have been harvested from the shore, not far from here. The River Thames, which spills out into the estuary along the way here. The sea wall is now actually about 1.5 miles from this point.
It looks incredible, doesn't it?
It's quite special.
Apparently, shells are a symbol of pilgrimage. Monks wore large ones around their necks to scoop water up for drinking whilst walking. I now understand the significance of the symbol riding high on St James's pretty church spire. And it's to the roof I'm heading next to bring that special moment from Great Expectations to life. Dickens tells the intertwined stories of an orphan called Pip and a prisoner, Magwitch, who at the beginning of the novel escapes from a prison ship docked in the nearby estuary and disappears into the marshes in search of somewhere to hide.
Mind your head.
Okay, is this safe?
Very narrow. Very dusty.
That smells medieval.
Are you okay then, Marie?
I'm okay. Ooh.
A few cobwebs.
Yeah, some of them have got me.
I don't think anyone's been up here for a while.
The view must be incredible.
This is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow, that was so worth it. I wonder when was the last time someone did come up here?
Not recently, I've got the key. There is the River Thames laid out in front of you.
Is that where the ships would have come that would have brought the prisoners
That's
over?
right, the Hulk ships would have come out, and there's a bay further down the way called Egypt Bay, which I believe was a kind of loading bay there.
So that's where Magwitch escaped from?
He would have escaped and come across
and
the
came
marsh.
across
Yeah.
to here?
And hidden up in the churchyard.
The church's location on the edge of the marshes made it the perfect setting for the scene in which Magwitch confronts Pip and demands his help.
Hold your noise, cried a terrible voice, as a man started up from among the graves at the side of the church porch. Keep still, you little devil, or I'll cut your throat.
Dickens tells us that Pip was in the graveyard visiting the burial site of his family. And these are the very graves he was describing. He called them little stone lozenges, actually the final resting place of 13 children, all aged less than 18 months.
These are the graves that inspired the scene from Great Expectations, where Pip goes to visit the graves of his father and mother and 5 brothers. Often when we read fiction, it's so easy to get carried away with a storyline and enjoy it, even if it's a sad story. But when you come face to face with the actual graves of real people, you start to consider how hard times must have been during the time that Dickens wrote this story. Many children during that era would have died from malaria, probably caused by the mosquitoes from the marshes. It's so tragic to think that so many children died because of something that now we can take a tablet to prevent. And Dickens obviously realised how awful the conditions were for children at the time, and that's why he was so passionate about social change.
When he was 12, the author's father was sent to a debtor's prison, forcing the boy to leave school and work in a factory to support the family. When Dickens wrote about poverty, he was writing from experience.
That got me thinking about how so many of Dickens' protagonists were young, vulnerable boys, and he obviously wanted to make people aware through his writing of the poor conditions that children were living in and the working class were living in. He felt there was an injustice and he wanted there to be a change.
Dickens doesn't use a lot of religious imagery in his writing, but there's often a strong moral line running through it. He wasn't afraid to shine a light on society's injustices. The next leg of my walk takes me out of Cooling and past the 14th century castle once owned by the de Cobhams, who built St James's Church. It's now an upmarket wedding venue. As the public footpath winds its way through wheat fields, it strikes me how lucky we are to have such generous rights of way. It opens up a whole new world. Footpaths, pretty country lanes and byways bring me to Higham. It's a large village in 2 parts, the original Saxon settlement to the north and the modern extension to the south. And it's here that I'm about to fulfill a lifetime's ambition, a place I've read about but never thought I'd get the chance to see because it's rarely open to the public. The fact that I'm being allowed in is such a treat.
This isn't the most scenic path I've walked on, but I have arrived at the house Dickens used to live in. And even when Dickens lived here, this was the main road into London.
Dickens first laid eyes on Gad's Hill House as a 9-year-old on a walk with his father. He fell in love with it and vowed that one day he would return to make it his own. 35 years later, with money from his books in his pocket, he did just that. A few years after his death in 1870, it became a school, and it still is. I would have loved to have taught here.
I've left teaching now, but every time I walk into a school, I still get that same buzz, like it's the first day at work. But the fact that this is Dickens' old house makes this visit even more exciting.
The headmaster of Gad's Hill Independent School is Mr. Craggs, a proper Dickensian name if ever I heard one.
This is one of the more historic parts of the house. Go on. This was his study, and it's one of the few rooms in the building but still as it was in his day. There's a picture over there which was painted the day after he died and represents the empty chair, and we have a recreated version of the desk that he wrote at here by the window, positioned exactly as it was, and this is where in the winter months he would have wrote his stories.
Looking out into
the garden. And you've got mirrors on either side of the window.
Yeah.
And you can see in Dickens's scripts that he's very much an actor. And what he used to do, so the story goes, is he would write and then he would come and stand in the centre of the room, pretty much where you are, so he could see himself in both mirrors and sort of act the character and become the character in the book, and then rush forward and write a few lines, come back, see himself in the mirror.
I would never think to do that.
The other interesting thing in here is the door, which has a variety of false book backs in what to him were amusing titles. So he's got Cat's Lives and 9 volumes. Now Hansard is a record of parliamentary business. And I imagine in Dickens's day, and probably even in our days, an awful lot of what goes on probably sends a lot of people to sleep. So he's got Hansard's Guide to Refreshing Sleep and quite a lot of volumes. It's a fascinating place. It's full of history, and you can almost imagine a man being here and writing those great works.
Absolutely. Do you know what novels Dickens would have written in here?
Well, his last 3, because he spent the last years of his life at Gad's Hill, so that would have been Great Expectations, Tale of Two Cities, Mystery of Edwin Drood, which remained unfinished. Great Expectations are very much set here, and Dickens being a great walker, he would have walked the countryside, and that's where he got a lot of his inspiration from.
To walk these corridors in the footsteps of Dickens is quite something. He lived here for 14 years. It's where he saw his children grow up, welcomed honoured guests like Hans Christian Andersen, and where he passed away in 1870.
This is the dining room, and it's the dining room, of course, where he died.
He died in the dining room?
He died in the dining room.
How did he die?
He had a stroke, and the story goes that this was the family dining room. It's rather empty now. So you have to imagine big dining table, family chairs, and he had a stroke, and the family laid him on, not this couch, but a couch rather like it, in this location, and called a doctor, but they were unable to do anything, and he basically went into unconsciousness and died the following day, never recovered.
That's surreal, isn't it? So imagine that you're standing in the room where Charles Dickens died.
Exactly.
Almost 150 years since his death, his presence still looms large at Gad's Hill, both within its walls and in the gardens he retreated to for moments of introspection and inspiration.
So Dickens used to own the land on the other side of the main road, and you can see a busy main road out here now, and it was even in the 1800s. So Dickens had this tunnel built
He built a tunnel?
He built a tunnel so that he didn't have to try and cross a busy road. And he had a summer house, a chalet, which had been given to him by a friend. And in the summer months, he would spend his time writing at the far end of his garden in the chalet. If the weather was awful, or during the winter months, he would write in his study.
If only my old English teacher colleagues could see me now, hanging out in Dickens' private tunnel.
During Halloween, we mock this up as a sort of haunted house.
But do you?
For the children, yeah, and they come down and get terrified. You can see these sort of gargoyle-type heads. The story goes that this one has a smiling face because Dickens used to view his visit to the garden with a degree of happiness. He enjoyed going there. The face at the other side has got a bit of a frown on it, so when he came back to house, for some reason, he felt in less of a good mood.
I would have thought that he would be happy to come back into the house, considering he worked so hard to buy the house in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know the full origin of the story, but it's one of those interesting, perhaps, urban myths.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is a frown.
Yeah, he does look kind of happy here. So it must have been a very busy road for him to have to build a tunnel just to get to the other end.
I imagine so, and I suspect being a celebrity in his day, he rather treasured his privacy and preferred the idea of just being able to go about his business without being troubled by anyone necessarily.
Mr. Craggs is obviously a passionate custodian of his school, but I wonder if there's anything he's been able to take from the life of the man who was his predecessor as head of this household.
On a more personal level, I wonder, do you feel like you've learned anything from Dickens?
I think there's quite a strong message from Dickens, and that is Dickens is someone from fairly humble background who, through hard work, enthusiasm, diligence, became successful in his own right. And I think there's a strong message there for anyone in society, especially our children. Social media, the internet, the media in general portray it being all too easy to have it all without too much effort. And I think we all know that that actually is only the case in a very, very small minority of situations. Most people, and I think this is the message for children, will get where they're going to go through that hard work, effort and enthusiasm. That's something we shouldn't lose sight of.
Being in charge of this school and this building is a massive responsibility. How does that feel?
Yes, it's an interesting one. As a head teacher of any school, you have a huge responsibility. You're responsible for the education, the learning and the future direction of generations of children. That's important. But of course, here at Gad's Hill, we've also got the mansion that belonged to Charles Dickens, where so many of his famous works were written, where the man lived, where the man died, and making sure that we look after that for future generations is equally as important, and also another responsibility. But one we enjoy, one we treasure. Thanks again.
This is an inspiring place. Dickens' former home is in good hands.
We all know the famous photos of Charles Dickens and the public image that he portrayed. I mean, his face seems so familiar, it was even on the old £10 note. Now, 150 years after this man has died, he still has such an impact, especially on young people. I think that's remarkable.
Shawn Woods Country Park is a popular site for dog walkers and ramblers. On a baking hot day, its shady paths are just perfect. It's not stretching the imagination too much to picture Charles Dickens strolling through these trees on the way to and from Gad's Hill.
He didn't just walk to find inspiration for characters and places. He also walked just to clear his mind. There's a quote I love from one of Dickens' short stories where he writes, "Mile after mile I walked without the slightest sense of exertion, dozing heavily and dreaming constantly." Sounds to me like Dickens used walking as a form of meditation or even escapism, and we can all learn something from that.
This area used to be the Cobham Hall estate, 300 acres of ancient oak and chestnut. This northern tip of the Kent Downs is stunning and home to something I've never seen before, totally free-range grazing cattle. The herd safely negotiated, my route takes me through open fields and onto the charming village of Cobham. A quiet, sleepy place with a population of just over 1,500.
I've been walking for a few miles now, and as much as I appreciate this beautiful weather, I'm desperate for a drink. And I've heard that this pub is actually a real gold mine for Dickens lovers, so I'm going to go in there.
Apparently, this beautiful country pub, the Leather Bottle, first opened around 400 years ago. I bet these walls could tell a few tales.
Hiya.
Hi.
Are you Sarah?
Yes.
It's lovely to meet you,
can help
Marine.
you. Hello.
Would it be possible to get a lemonade, please?
Yeah.
Lots of ice, please.
A lemon?
Yes. I've heard a lot about this pub.
Yeah.
I was hoping you can tell me a bit more about it.
Well, it was built in 1629, became an inn in 1729. Charles Dickens visited in the 1800s.
Charles Dickens used to visit here?
Yeah, and used to sit at the front of the pub, and he used to stay in room 2.
What did Dickens make of this place?
He loved it. He mentions it in the Pickwick Papers. That's a quote up there, "A clean and commodious village alehouse." That's, he actually wrote that in the Pickwick Papers. So.
About here?
About here, yeah.
This part of the world isn't shy of declaring its Dickens connections, and by the looks of things, it's been doing so for quite some time.
If you look around in every area of this pub, it is packed with Dickens memorabilia. And then you look at this, it says, "Ask for the Copperfield and Pickwick set of postcards, 1 old pence per set of 12. So essentially, Dickens has been an industry and a source of income for this area for decades.
Its most famous regular didn't just pop in for a pint. He'd often sleep over. And today, so can you, in one of his favourite rooms.
So I'll show you up to the room where Charles Dickens used to stay, which is at the front half of the pub. It overlooks the church.
In the Pickwick Papers, Mr. Tracy Tupman flees to the Leather Bottle after being ditched by his sweetheart. Could this room have played a part in Dickens' love life?
It's a big room.
Yeah.
You can see the graveyard, you can see the church.
You can imagine sitting there looking out the window, pondering his life. He certainly always used to choose this room to stay on, whether it was for entertaining purposes or not, we're not sure. You don't know what he got up to while he was here.
Why would he have stayed in a pub? He lived down the road.
Maybe he got here and had a few too many and couldn't be bothered with the walk home, so he decided to stay the night.
Am I allowed to lie in the bed?
Yeah. We get a lot of people just asking to stay in this room.
Technically, this is the ceiling that Dickens would have gazed at
Yes.
night time.
Yes.
Possibly to get inspiration, possibly to get away from his wife.
Yeah.
Ah.
Meet his secret lover.
So, possibly.
So many stories.
Really?
Yeah, there is a lot of stories about what it was like, but I mean,
Really
unless she was here at the time, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's largely accepted that Dickens did have at least one affair in his lifetime. She was an actress called Ellen Ternan, who was 26 years younger than him, and all the while his wife was at home with their 10 children. It feels like this pub offers up evidence of his more impulsive, less Christian side. And while the Leather Bottle has undoubtedly turned the Dickens factor to its advantage,
If you do look very closely, you will see an actual strand of his hair. The Dickens Fellowship sold raffle tickets. One of our locals bought a raffle ticket and won it, and he kindly donated it back to us.
There's proof amongst all their relics that in his lifetime, Dickens himself was aware of his ability to cash in on his reputation, as shown by the size of this, said to be his travelling money bag.
He used to carry his readings around, and then afterwards people would drop their silver in there.
Imagine a man carrying around a bag
Yeah.
that size filled with money.
Yeah. He must have had to have someone carrying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some might find all this memorabilia a bit much, but I don't mind it at all. There's definitely something exhilarating for a Dickens fan to sit in the exact spot he used to relax in over his favourite drink.
Is this the original chair?
Yes. There's a lot of customers have had their photos taken in the chair.
It's a big chair?
Yeah.
This has been here for about...
It's got to be about 150 years.
Wow.
It's quite comfortable though, I think.
It is. It's just everything he did was in supersize. His bag was big, his chair was big.
His beard was big.
Dickens is clearly still a major money spinner in these parts, attracting visitors from all over the world. And nobody with a business in a little Kent village like Cobham is going to complain about that. As nice as my pit stop was, there's no rest for the Dickens fan, and it's time to start the final leg of my journey. I'm heading for Rochester, a place synonymous not just with the author's life, but also the circumstances surrounding his death too. This is Cobham Wood, famed for its wide variety of trees, among them, my guidebook tells me, oak, sweet chestnut and hornbeam. Sometimes there are deer grazing here too, but today I don't see as much as a Labrador. I find the isolation absolutely inspiring.
I'm over halfway through my journey now, and I'm getting a clearer and clearer picture of the world Dickens used to live in, especially after seeing where he lived, where he died, and even where he drank. It just makes the man feel even more real.
After the tranquility, the outskirts of Rochester come as quite a shock.
Quite the contradiction. You've got heavy traffic and busy road on one side, and a beautiful view of a castle and a river on the other.
From its humble Saxon beginnings, the city's position on the River Medway saw it grow into a major settlement. Its castle was built in the 12th century, originally as a fort, whilst a cathedral was built to serve the needs of a steadily rising population, hungry for religious salvation. A quick internet search told me a strange administrative error in 1998 saw Rochester lose its status as a city, meaning it's now one of a handful of towns with a cathedral in the UK. But that doesn't take the shine off Rochester for me. Dickens was a regular visitor throughout his life. Just as at the Leather Bottle, his influence looms large. But though I've been walking in the great man's footsteps for 12 miles now, I'm still hungry to know more about what made him tick. So I've arranged to meet someone who can fill me in.
Hello, are you Steve?
Yes, pleased to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you.
Steve Martin is the secretary of the Rochester branch of the Dickens Fellowship.
Steve, how did you acquire all of your Dickens knowledge?
Picked up over the years, really. And if you live in this area, you can't help but see it every time you walk along the high street with the little plaques up everywhere to Charles Dickens.
I have noticed you see his name and his images to do with him and his character names even, everywhere.
The whole town is awash with Dickens puns galore, but why not?
He literally must have walked down the street and observed everything on either side. And
Very good on observation, and I think it would have been a photographic memory classed as today.
Yeah.
Plenty of references to people and places in Rochester crop up in the books Dickens was writing at Gad's Hill. This building, for example, became the location for Pip being granted an apprenticeship.
Well, this is the Guild Hall. The room up above the colonnade here in Charles Dickens' time would have been the magistrate's court. And in those days, if you wanted to be an apprentice, you were brought in front of a magistrate.
So this is where Pip would have been brought before he became an apprentice with Joe? That's
right, yeah. His uncle Pumblechalk brought him here with Joe Gargery, the blacksmith, and the magistrate attested so he could become an apprentice.
Dickens added an element of religious imagery to illuminate the grandeur of the Guildhall. The hall was a queer place, he wrote, with pews higher than a church.
The next one along here is Joe Speck's house.
Ah! Dickens became more nostalgic about Rochester when he returned in adulthood. I've read his book, The Uncommercial Traveller, and in that he changes the name of Chatham, the town he grew up in, to Dullborough. He's much more complimentary about Rochester, though.
So it seems like the majority of The Uncommercial Traveller, the description in that, was based on this street.
Yes, he did a very good description of walking one end of Rochester all the way through to the bridge. And he's comparing it as in later life, as he remembers it as a child. From his memory, before he came back to do this walk, he remembers it as being as wide as Regent Street.
This street?
This street.
And then when he saw the world and came back to visit it, he realised that it was...
not more than a lane.
Lane, yes.
Even the smallest details seem to have influenced him.
You know, it's a gravestone here, got the name of Dorrit on it. So as a small boy, he would have seen this and kept it in the back of his mind, slightly changed the spelling. And used it in Little Dorrit. And not far from here, the other side of the castle, is the real Satis house.
The real Satis house. I've waited many years to see this.
Just a half a mile to the south of Rochester Centre lies the place that gave him inspiration for Satis House, the intimidating mansion that was home to Great Expectations' formidable wealthy spinster, Miss Havisham.
Miss Havisham is one of my favourite literary characters. I just think Dickens did that a lot. He created these complex characters where you didn't quite know what to make of them, like Scrooge, like Miss Havisham. You just didn't... Because as human beings, we are multifaceted and we are complex and we're not just good or bad.
Miss Havisham lives in the ruined Satis house with her adopted daughter, Estella, lifelong object of our hero Pip's affections. And it absolutely matches the image I've always had of it in my head.
This is it. This is what Dickens actually was describing when he described Miss Havisham's house.
Yes.
That is a large, dismal, lonely-looking mansion. Often when you sort of see settings, or even if you see films of places that have been described in books, it doesn't quite match up to it, but he described that perfectly. You can imagine a woman living in there by herself. You can imagine how lonely that would be because it's such a big building and the colours are so sad. What's it used for now?
But it is privately owned. It's a house, someone's house.
If Dickens, as a young boy, would have walked past this, it would have left a massive impact on him. And you can imagine that he would sort of make stories about who would live in the house. And it wouldn't be a happy story just because of the way the building looks.
As a small boy, this would have looked an absolute huge mansion.
It does even now. It does even now. And then that makes sense of little Pip running up here every day to visit Miss Havisham.
You've got Stella coming down to the gate, or old Orlick to let him in.
You can see it happening.
I've learnt so much about the way Dickens looked to his own experiences and his surroundings for inspiration. And as much as I enjoy seeing these real-life locations, I feel it's now time for me to pin Steve down about his spiritual influences.
When he was a child living in Chatham, the family used to go to St Mary's Church on a Sunday. He said his family didn't go as much as they should do, and what was normal at the time, because they liked to go to the theatre a lot, which often clashed. So Dickens sometimes went more than his parents.
Oh.
Steve tells me that though Dickens became disillusioned by religious dogma in his later years, his intrinsic faith in God remained strong his entire life.
But there's a little known book which he actually wrote only for his children, never to be published, called The Life of Our Lord. And it's based around the New Testament, not the Old Testament, and it's more about the morals and the way of life and the way he wanted to bring to his children the way of life more than all the pomp and ceremonies and circumstances that go around the religious beliefs. And if I can just read a few lines from the very start, you get an idea of what he was trying to say to his children. My dear children, I am very anxious that you should know something about the history of Jesus Christ. For everybody ought to know about him. No one ever lived who was so good, so kind, so gentle, and so sorry for all the people who did wrong, or were in any way ill or miserable, as he was. So it gives you a bit of a feeling of what he was trying to put across.
And if you go on to the next bit, and as he is now in heaven, where we hope to go, and all to meet each other after we are dead, he was constantly thinking about life after death.
Yeah, so this comes across in a lot of his books about atonement and making good before you die. And it was quite normal in those days that people gave money to the church thinking it would help them in later life, when they died, really.
Like his characters, it seems Dickens was a multi-layered, complicated man. Adulterous but concerned for the poor. He yearned for fame but enjoyed solitary walks. He believed in God but didn't care for organised religion. But he kept his beliefs incredibly private. Dickens requested his little book of prayers not be published until the death of his youngest child. A request that was granted. And now Steve's got one last sacred Dickens space to show me. After Gad's Hill was sold by his eldest son, the wooden building that Dickens wrote in the garden was moved here, close to what is now the Guildhall on Rochester High Street. It's like something out of a fairy tale and looks so out of place in amongst the modern buildings that now surround it. Steve tells me this ornate chalet was actually given to Dickens in flat pack form by an actor friend, but to build it meant translating the instructions from French.
So they got a French carpenter from the Lyceum in London who worked with a local carpenter to put it together, and the children helped as well because two of them were educated in Boulogne, spoke French, so between them they had the foundations and assembled it.
Are we allowed to look inside?
Yes, certainly. After you.
Thank you. Wow.
The lower floor where we are now was a storeroom, and the upper floor he furnished and used it as his study where he wrote his books during the summer months. He actually wrote a letter describing what he thought about the chalet. So, this was written at Gad's Hill, Higham, Rochester, 25th of May, 1868. My room is up among the branches of the trees, and the birds and the butterflies fly in and out, and the green branches shoot in at the open windows, and the light and the shadows of the clouds come and go with the rest of the company. The scent of the flowers, and indeed of everything that is growing for miles and miles, is most delicious.
I can so imagine that. I can imagine that's why he wanted to be on the top floor, because he could see the branches, the tops of the trees, the leaves, and that was where he got his inspiration then to write. Because it's so small, it feels really secluded, like you're just locked away from everything else, so he could concentrate.
He actually always worked alone. His family and his staff were never allowed in the study or over here when he was working.
It's his man cave.
Space. And from the upper part where it was originally placed in the wilderness, you had views over the River Thames as well. Great Expectations country.
It's a nice getaway. I'd like to have somewhere like this where I could just go, lock myself in and do what I want to do, be inspired. I'd quite like to stay in here for a bit and absorb the atmosphere, if that's okay.
I quite understand, and I'll leave you to it. Very nice meeting you.
Steve, thank you so much. This tour was my favourite part.
My pleasure.
Though I'm standing in the place where he wrote some of his most famous novels, it's one of his least known works, his little book of prayers, that has revealed the most to me on my journey today.
the book that Dickens wrote for his children. For me, that was a massive reminder that religion was a private thing for Dickens, and he didn't believe that religion should be something that's for show. For him, beyond anything else, he thought the most important thing about his faith, the most important thing that he took from Christianity, were those basic religious morals of love and forgiveness.
No visit to Rochester could possibly be complete without seeking out the town's two greatest landmarks. First, an imposing fortification built over 8 centuries ago to help protect England's southeast coast from invasion.
I'm turning the corner towards Rochester Castle.
My legs are exhausted from a long day's walking, but I'm determined to make it to the top.
My last few steps are uphill. It's a long walk, but I'm so glad I made it.
I learned that the castle was originally built in 1087 by a monk turned Bishop of Rochester called Gundulf. A skilled architect, he was responsible for parts of the Tower of London too, and I think you can see the similarities. In the 12th century, the castle came under the control of the Archbishop of Canterbury, and from the ramparts he added, I can survey the town and the surrounding countryside I spent all day exploring. This place apparently played heavily on Dickens' mind, especially in the days before he died. He recorded the view from here, looking down on the cathedral, in some of the final passages he ever wrote, in the novel he famously left unfinished, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. A brilliant morning shines on the old city. Changes of glorious light from moving boughs, songs of birds, scents from gardens, woods and fields penetrate the cathedral, subdue its earthly odour, and preach the resurrection and the life.
The fact that this castle at some point would have been this great, grand building, but it had been reduced to ruin, that kind of reminded him of himself. How important or how futile is power and status and money if in the end this is what's left of it.
Dickens had been ill for almost 5 years before his death, and he had prepared for it well. He'd long since decided that he wanted to be buried at Rochester Cathedral, the other great landmark of this town, a place my guidebooks all assured me would be a fitting place to complete my journey.
I'm nearly at the end of my walk, and it is baking hot. So I'm going to welcome the shade of this beautiful cathedral. It took 159 years to complete this, and it's actually the second oldest cathedral in England.
First built in the 7th century, it became a place of pilgrimage 700 years later, when the relics of St. William of Perth were enshrined here. William was a devout Catholic who was murdered by his adopted son. He became a saint, legend has it, after the mad woman who found his body became sane, and monks declared it a miracle. The cathedral now houses a unique fresco. Unveiled in 2004, it's the first to have been created in an English cathedral for 800 years and is dedicated to John the Baptist.
Look at all of these people who were dangerously wounded and killed in battles and wars.
This is a beautiful space. The modern paintwork of these choir walls is modelled on artwork from the Middle Ages.
I always find the lighting in cathedrals really beautiful.
It's never too bright. It's always slightly dim. Oh, they've got all the Bibles. Isn't it strange how in certain faiths, music is banned? Like in mosques, you won't have music, you definitely won't have instruments. But then in this holy place, there must be music in here, and that's their way of worshipping. That's how they feel closer to God.
There's a sense of creativity and expression at Rochester Cathedral that makes me think Charles Dickens would have felt at home here. Indeed, this is where he wanted to be laid to rest, and he would have been if the most powerful woman in the world hadn't intervened.
In fact, it was his dying wish, and they even started to dig his grave when at the last minute Queen Victoria overturned his request and insisted that he's buried in Westminster Abbey. This is the actual spot where they had started to dig Dickens' grave. And the work had started, but they had to stop, and they transported his body via train to London. How sad is that?
I can understand why Dickens wanted to be buried at Rochester Cathedral. Kent was his county, the land he cherished, and home to the people he loved. So I feel rather upset that his final request wasn't granted.
I suppose the only consolation is that despite the grand setting of Dickens' funeral, the service itself was a simple one, where only a handful of people attended and there was no pomp or ceremony as requested.
My walk through Dickens County has been so rewarding. The sights that shaped him have helped me appreciate the impact people and their surroundings can have on a great artist's life. It wasn't traditional religion that inspired him to want to change the world around him, but his personal faith, beliefs and experiences here in Kent made him the person that he was. And I think we can all appreciate that.